My name's Jason Hardy. I'm the CTO for Hitachi Vantara. I'm responsible for our global strategy and the initiatives that we're picking up from a portfolio perspective as we evolve into what this new generation of what data and how we consume it and access it and everything about it. That's really what my goal and my trajectory is for our company. Now, today's going to be a little bit different. I have one slide, two, but it's really one slide. Because what I really wanted to do is take some time to talk to a great customer that we've had for quite some time and walk through what his data journey is looking like and what we've been able to do together, and then obviously what the future holds for us. So I'd like to give a warm welcome to a very great customer of ours, Dan Feen, with the Compare Group to introduce himself.
Hello everyone. So my name's Dan. I'm the Group COO of a company called Compre. We're a business that specialises in global reinsurance, providing capital and investment solutions for our business. So we've grown really quickly over the last 2 or 3 years, and which is lots of acquisitions, and data is paramount to how we come up with our solutions for our customers. So it's a privilege to be here. It's a bit intimidating. There's so many of you. They told me it'd be a little chat, but yeah, I'm delighted to partner Jason on this.
Yeah, there are a lot of them here, so this will be good. Thanks again. Thanks for coming out, guys. So obviously, you guys are under a pretty amazing journey here. You've taken on this role at Compre. You're going through what is a very strategic direction in your data journey. I was wondering if you could just kind of give us a little bit of a background on what you're doing from like your data strategy, how you're moving forward, some of the problems that you're trying to tackle here, and then obviously how we're working with you guys to do that.
Yeah, perfect. So there's quite a few things there. So I'm quite new into the role. So I joined the company 3 months ago, sitting on at a board level. So I'm not as technical as some of you in the audience. One of my first challenges was the alignment between the ambitions of the leadership team and the actually what we're doing on the ground. And there's quite a big kind of gap. So it's probably easy to talk about some of the challenges. So because we've grown really quickly as a company and we do a lot of acquisitions, our data volumes have increased beyond recognition. We receive data from lots of different companies in lots of different shapes, from lots of different technologies. So integration and data volumes is a real challenge. So our ambition is to be leaders in our industry using data. So because we have to come up with very complex solutions for our customers, you know, getting the right data to the right people at the right time is kind of paramount. But there's some real important building blocks that we're working with Hitachi to kind of put in place. So getting that alignment with what the ambition is and the actual, it's quite hard to know where to start because we've got a busy BAU agenda, people are working really hard, and then to re-platform and do things at the same time as you're running the business is really tricky.
So from a re-platforming perspective, obviously you've had a lot of history with Hitachi. We've been great customers for quite some time, and you've started to transition through here. Have you found that, so obviously everyone's talking about Gen AI, for example. Yeah. Have you found that those are technologies that you're really trying to lead into, or are there other things that you're trying to also bring into your ecosystem to really help you drive forward and solve that data dilemma?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think I failed to mention at the beginning that in a previous life I worked with Hitachi and who successfully helped deliver some real value in another company. So I'm because I've only been in this role for 3 months, but I've worked with Hitachi as a partner for about nearly 10 years. The good thing about some of the Gen AI stuff is it's getting the attention of boards. People read about it, they understand that data can be used for good, but it is a bit of a distraction. When you've got so many things to do, and some of it's quite foundational, Gen AI has a place to play, but for us, probably not now. It's probably in the future. So it's the challenge I have is to keep the excitement of data in the boardroom, but then also manage expectations to say, well, actually, we've got other more pressing fires to address and foundational things that need to be put in place to then leverage that in the future. And then for me, getting the talent, the right people, is really difficult. So we've got a very good team at Compre. Under a lot of pressure, the business is very demanding. But these new technologies require slightly different skills, and it's hard to get good people. Engineers are in demand everywhere, and so for a relatively small company, it's quite hard to scale quick, and that's why we kind of lean on Hitachi to help fill some of those kind of capability gaps.
That's great. So from obviously our past being very successful together and really driving forward, can you kind of break down why you went with us, why you chose Hitachi again? Obviously, what you've kind of tasked us with and what we've been working together on and what we're starting to really execute and build that momentum on, and why from your past you brought us into this?
Yeah, okay. So the real reason is people that make things happen. So for me, what I found is there's a real good cultural fit. And my acid test is when we go out on a team night out, I couldn't tell who worked for Hitachi and who worked for the team. Everyone just gets on really well. So for me, Hitachi have always been just a natural extension. I feel that you share in our pains and our successes. You kind of get what it is that we need. You sort of understand the business. And it's a bit of a cliche, but it is a true partnership. And I feel like you care about what we're trying to do. In terms of what I'm asking currently, specifically, it is that value map. So we kind of know where to start, but we're not quite sure. So the Hitachi team at the moment are helping us do some day in the life of assessments, sitting down with business users and mapping out at a very deep level how data is being used in the decision making that's going on in every day, and then the handoff between all the different teams. That's quite a difficult exercise to do, and it's a very skilled job. So that's one of the things. The output which I'm expecting in the next 6 weeks is a kind of a value map, showing me what foundational things do we need to start working on, and then what value will be unlocked in the time ahead. I found in the past this one page is understood by everyone in the organisation. I can give it to non-technical people, and they can see points on a graph, and they can see what's of high value and what's of low value. And that is kind of a key output that I'm looking for, and that will then give me alignment between the engineers and the technical teams, and then the strategic board members and the shareholders, and how we've joined the two kind of ambitions together.
No, that's great. And it's funny that you say that, because so obviously Hitachi's a massive organization. We have insurance divisions, and we have train divisions, and we have nuclear power plant divisions. But the one thing that kind of links this all together is obviously the data that is consumed through it. But I think more importantly is, and I've found this as we've explored this together, is that regardless of what you're trying to do with the data, you have to keep the business in mind. So obviously the objectives behind the business, being able to define the parameters to operate inside of, and what is value at the end of it. So it's not just about saying, hey, great, I can go query a bunch of data because I know where it lives. I can then build a really cool AI thing on top of it. But it's making sure that all of that aligns to the business. So from your perspective, what have been some of those challenges in keeping, again, the objective of having this output of these data platforms and this way to consume data and everything, but keeping that aligned into what the business is trying to do, and making sure that you keep that first?
Yeah, okay. difficult question. So what I find quite often is businesses are very, very busy. There's lots of data is being used all the time in every decision, and it's quite hard to identify which are the critical decisions that your business win or loses on. You know, which levers the company can pull to be more successful or reduce cost or increase performance. So for me, the first thing is to really understand those critical business moments where you can then use data differently to get better outcomes. And that conversation has to happen at all levels. It has to happen with the kind of the board members. It has to happen with the kind of day-to-day users of the data. Because otherwise there's a danger that there's too much to do and your data strategy can get too diluted.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So when we talk about the range of solutions that we're talking about here, obviously Hitachi can go from hey, I can store your data for a really long time and have block storage and everything from a traditional standpoint, into cloud enablement and business processes and that cool AI thing and everything in the middle. Have you narrowed in on where we start and then what that journey looks like as you path forward?
Not yet, no. No, not yet. So I think we're working on the gap analysis. So I've been in the role 3 months. So in the current role, not yet. So we're doing the gap analysis. We're leveraging some of the tools you've got to do data discovery, to understand the provenance of where the data's come from, and to speed up how we integrate data. So we're using tools that we wouldn't otherwise have had access to. But I would say it's still kind of to be defined. Mm-hmm. Having said that, now that we're identifying exactly where the bottlenecks are and the challenges, I'm expecting us to move quite quickly. I mean, one of the reasons we've partnered is because of the speed to value. The company I work for is PE backed, so it has quite a short investment cycle. So we don't have 10 years to do this. So the runway is quite short. So really within the next 18 months, 2 years, we need to transform the way that we're using data. So I don't want to give the impression that we're just going to spend loads of time kind of analysing. We're looking for those kind of key moments that we can quickly transform and deliver value whilst we're then raising the maturity across the whole organisation.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's what we've found in a lot of scenarios where, and we do this with a lot of different companies, is you have a very short window to do something very impactful to the organization. So you mentioned that time to value. So as you go through this, do you have any sort of like practical steps on how you're getting to that or how you want to get to that quicker time to value, and how you want to have that bigger impact on the business as you go down the roadmap and the journey?
Yeah, no, again, another good question. So I think again, I've talked a lot about alignment. So for me, having a clear roadmap where people can see by quarter what we're delivering and why is kind of key. So if I look into 2014, we've got specific targets for key areas of the business where data is going to make a significant difference to how we operate.
Excellent.
So some of it's in value creation, how we generate value. Some of it's in business orientation, origination, so how we get leads in. Some of it's on how we integrate data, so we need to speed up how quickly we can ingest data from, particularly on acquisitions. So there's not one area, but it kind of splits into sort of themes spread out across the year.
Okay, excellent. So then it really is an all-encompassing, like how your business operates is really what this was being built on. Or are you going after specific lighthouses first and then kind of evolving out?
Yeah. So we haven't got time to. So we are looking for specific lighthouses where we can deliver value build the capabilities, so our data teams, our engineering teams, that we don't lose their kind of. If it takes too long, people will kind of give up. So we need to keep the whole organisation energised. We need to deliver something back to the shareholders so that they're going to reinvest in what we're doing. So that's quite an important stage. The business need to be really kind of buzzed up by what we're doing as well. So those kind of specific lighthouses, kind of key. There is a really difficult, and I'm sure many of you have got this, it's quite hard to articulate what it is you do for your business, and it's very complicated and it takes a long time. So when you don't have the luxury of time, that kind of stuff has to happen in the background whilst you're delivering kind of some quick wins, because some things will just take a long time to do. So that has to happen alongside, delivering value.
Excellent, great. So I think here, would you be okay taking a couple questions from the audience?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So I don't know if obviously we're very we're trying to articulate that there's a lot going on here, but does anyone have any specific questions for myself or for Dan? Do we have a mic or a way to capture this?
Thank you so much. Veronica from LBG. I had a question about measuring the value that the data team creates, because obviously you spoke about the strategy and the importance of strategic alignment, right? And the data teams are driving the value, but how do you actually measure that value, and how do you do that difficult work of trying to almost capture that value as you do that important work? If you could share some thoughts around that, it would be super interesting.
That's an excellent question. So one of my responsibilities is to build that data narrative so that people can see how we've made a difference over the next 18 months. So I talked about key levers. So for us, things like our retention of customers, or how quickly we can settle a claim, an insurance claim. There's some specific things that as a company we have to do. So we can benchmark that, and we're trying to create a compelling narrative on how things have moved. So if we can substantially, materially reduce our loss ratio, how much we're paying out, for example, that's of a significant input. Some of it will be more operational, so how quickly we can ingest data on an acquisition, how quickly we can generate some of our key business reports, because at the moment there's a lot of manual activity in putting these together. So some will be quite operational, but fundamentally, if you're going to really shift the needle on how data is impacting your company, it needs to be, the metrics need to be around where the value is created. And I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Excellent. Any other questions?
Hi. So from my limited understanding of reinsurance, a lot of your decisions about operating your books are based on risk, analysis of risk.
Yep.
And I'm interested from when you gather your data, how do you use that data and perhaps AI to help qualify where you go with the risk, because it's not a binary decision?
No, yeah, good question. So, insurance is very actuarial based. So from the beginning of time, really, the models have existed. So the actuarial workbench or the has evolved. So there is more and more use of machine learning. Because we're a reinsurance, we're not writing live business. So in my previous role, I worked for an insurer that was writing live business, and so machine learning is used at the point you create the price. Ours is more used at when we're looking at a book of business to acquire, and how we can then understand what risk is sitting in that book. So that is definitely an area which is transforming across the industry, not just our company. How we can use the machine learning tools that the live insurance market is using, but in a reinsurance context. We've got a number of use cases where we do this. We do some of this we do when we're looking for opportunities in the market, and we're taking in a lot of unstructured data to look for like patterns. Some of it is where when we're going through the due diligence of an acquisition, we bring in data, and then we can use, again, we're looking for patterns and trends. But it's definitely at the beginning of the journey. If you're asking me about like motor insurance, it's highly sophisticated. But as a reinsurers don't have to be quite sophisticated yet.
Two questions up here.
Thank you. You mentioned about your value map earlier. How long did it take you to produce it, or is it an iterative deliverable that you revisit periodically?
So the engagement we have, we've broken it into like 6-week sprints. So we revisit it every 6 weeks. The first creation was done within 4 to 5 weeks. It doesn't materially change, but it kind of evolves as we learn new things and the business changes. Because we do buy different books of business, the demands can change over a period of time. So I'd say it gets refreshed every 6 to 8 weeks.
Thank you. This is a question maybe for Jason, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So he was talking about having acquired a lot of companies, obviously with a lot of data that I imagine sits in very different locations. Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about those technologies, about allowing to work with data no matter where it lives. I suspect this talks about some sort of decentralized technology rather than centralizing all of it in one place, but yeah, super keen to hear more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually a great question. So for those who couldn't hear, the question was about having, obviously he's gone through many acquisitions, is how to handle all of the decentralized data across those silos, and what Hitachi has done to help bring that together or glue that together a bit better. So Hitachi's done a lot to invest in, in the technology of one, being able to retire silos of information. So if we look at like, excuse me, my kids got me sick. If we look at like in the banking industry, for example, there's a lot of organizations, much like in insurance, where they have these silos of data through acquisition that are still active but need to be consolidated into a central platform. So we've done a lot to create kind of that connective tissue that can bring data from these edge siloed platforms, normalize it, and then create, again, in a lot of the unstructured world, create a standard schema around it, and then bring that in as an interactive platform for anything having to do with a customer transaction, or having to do with, hey, I want to retire a bunch of mainframe content, pull it into like an object store, and then wrap a bunch of metadata around it to make it an now actionable piece of information. Now, obviously, that takes a lot of work. There's a lot of development that goes into that. But at the end of it is the ROI comes from, hey, I can turn off my mainframe. So there's obviously a journey that happens through this. And we've done this time and time again. And much like what we're working with Dan on is that journey of they've gone through and acquired all these different companies, is assessing what that data is, peeling back and understanding what is valuable and what isn't, and then starting the funneling and moving of that data so that we can retire these stovepipes and create now this, he's already got one, but now enrich that central repository. I don't want to call it a data lake because it's a lot more than that, but start to bolster that up with all of these, and then start to tear down, again, these siloed environments that just linger on forever. It becomes a compelling event to do this, though. It's not just something to say, wake up, I want to start doing this. There's obviously a cost associated with maintaining it, and then a cost of hey, if I get it there, obviously I can now action faster, but at the same time now I can consolidate and create a better view of that. And then that can, much like what Dan had said, start to feed into things like creating generative AI models. Everyone's talking about it now. Obviously, ChatGPT has kind of changed the face of the game. But if you don't go through this process of consolidation, or at least of understanding what's out there, you're going to start to have this garbage in, garbage out problem. So through that, we've spent a lot of time investing in ways to cleanse that data, ways to normalize that data, ways to eject some of that data. So through that, again, it's an iterative practice. It's not a set product or a set, hey, you do this, this, and this, and it's done. But it's a very consultative process that we go through for that. Does that answer your question? Any other questions? Well, great. Well, oh, we got another one.
Just to close those, on this question, just to close it off, what is the kind of timeline for you to bring a new source into that kind of almost monolithic model that you've described?
I missed the first part of the question.
What is the timeline? How long does it take once a new kind of company is acquired for you to actually assimilate the data into your enterprise kind of model?
So we measured in weeks, not months. So yeah, it's rapid. Yeah, we'll have on various sizes between 6 and 10 acquisitions in flight concurrently. So it's quick, and then we're getting data with each acquisition. We receive data monthly from those. Yeah, so it's rapid. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you all for attending today. I really appreciate it. Obviously, a little bit of a different format here than what we're used to. But from our perspective at Hitachi, we'd really like to spend a little bit more time with all of you. We have a booth over at near the entrance, booth 600. We're giving away some stuff. I think we have like a Galaxy Quest or something like that, or some VR platforms. But we'd also like to just spend some time with you guys to understand your data journey, what we can do to help, and then obviously articulate further what we can do from a technology perspective and what we've done to integrate into a lot of cloud platforms and other technologies in the market. So, excellent. Well, thank you all very much. Enjoy your lunch.